Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is and peace out to the rest of you. You already know who it is and who it ain't. It ain't your boy and it is your man, the blackest heart, the blackest mind, the blackest man on social media, signing black in and shining again, asking you to hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. So let me start by saying that I'm not taking a dig at Oshay in this one. I'm not taking a shot at him. He doesn't even know I exist. It wouldn't do any good if I had a grudge in the first place. But what I will say is that, see, in his video regarding the divesters, if he's going to keep it down to that length to which he kept it, he doesn't have time to go into the difference between divesters and SYSBM. So regardless of his actual awareness of the difference, that would have to be another video. So I'm recording this one because I can spend about 8 minutes telling you what it is. Now, most of you Negroes can listen, as I said, for a short time. So I'll try to keep this one short too. He's actually been very smart about that from the very beginning, which is actually, when I think about it, much, much more intelligent. So now that we got that out the way, I'm gonna specify this right quick. The divestors are not divesting for the same reason that SYSBM and IBMOR exist. The difference between the two is actually the same as the difference between Western men and Western women in the first doggone furthermucking place. Number one, women hold the cards, especially when they're young. They hold them. And when they get older, they still don't approach men for the most part. So since they're not approaching men they don't know, but they don't even know how to do it, to be honest with you, there's, for the most part, for them to get with someone, they hold the cards now. When they get older, they may not be as sought after, so they can go longer without ever being approached, but they don't know how to make an approach. They don't know how to spit game because they've never had to. And matter of fact, they're game goofy, as Edward Anderson would say. In other words, if they had to do things to charm men, they couldn't do it. They have to rely on appearance and youth. And we men have been historically stupid enough to allow this. Now, to keep a man, that's different. But as we know, they're not that good at that either. Talking Western women in general. The divesting sisters have choices, because women in general have choices, at least when they're young. What happens, though, is that the divesting sisters with these choices, this is what gets funny. We already know that women will make rules for the men in general, but then they make exceptions for the men they want. And that's actually a very good way for businesses to staff themselves the way that they would want to. You want to staff your business with a particular demographic, but you're not allowed to exclude other demographics to do it. Then you exclude a demographic that runs concurrent with the one you're not allowed to exclude. So in other words, you exclude a particular demographic, like, let's say, if as a Muslim, I don't want to hire men that are booty bandits. If I don't want to do that, then what I do is I make rules for everybody. And then I make exceptions for the ones I want to promote, instead of making rules for everybody and waiting to see who excels. I make rules for all, and then I just make exceptions for the ones I want to promote. And I say, well, I'll overlook this. Smart. That's what the divesting sisters, that's what sisters in general have been doing. That's what Western women have been doing. Now, let's look at how they make the exceptions. Well, the divesting sisters, for the most part, have said, here are the rules. Black men must follow them. So most of them are eliminated. That's what the rules are there for. Okay, I'm going to make an exception for the black men that are killers, D-boys, robbers, felons, got muscles and tats, the ones that other men are afraid of. I'll make exceptions for them. Now, if you think that's bad, when it gets to not even men of color, but when it gets to specifically white men, then they make all sorts of exceptions. The ones that want them will make all kinds of exceptions for them. They don't even have to be masculine, let alone macho. They can have a painted fingernail and be into Star Wars and Star Trek and have high-pitched voices and neck beards and all this other stuff. Now, the sisters that don't want this, of course, they don't want it, so they're not going to pursue that. But if they're interested in a male mafioso at all, they will take the ones that are rejects according to the male mafioso women. Those are the divestors. They divest because they have a choice, and what they want, of course, is they want the man that's at the top, even if he doesn't deserve it. And that's what they want, and that's what they'll do whatever they can. And some would say, well, that's women's biology. I don't feel a guck because they don't feel a guck about men's biology. They can't tolerate polygyny when it's done responsibly. But they want to sit up here and compete for the same few men at the top, even when those men are only at the top because their granddad robbed everybody else. That means they weren't really alpha according to what women would want to call it. They just robbed everyone else and got away with it. That's another topic for another day. That's why they're divestors. SYSBM and IBMOR are the way that we are because of the choices that were left based on the choices that they made. We are the way that we are not only because of the choices that they made, but because other men are out here giving so many choices and chances and trials to them, making ding-a-ling too easy, making everything else by nature too easy, and making it such that these ladies can act as a union, exclude and eliminate most men from ever becoming even mildly experienced with women, then come back to these same men as retirement plans after a whole phase. Since many men have allowed this to be the case, then we have to be SYSBM or IBMOR. We have to, for the most part, look away from the Western black woman. When they divest, they're done with black men and even other men of color. When we become SYSBM or IBMOR, we don't write off black women. SYSBM does not even write off Western black women. They simply say, well, if you find a Western black woman that's good, go ahead, marry her, but don't wait for that to come up because they're very rare. IBMOR men generally say, get a black woman, just not from the West. So in no case have black women as a whole been written off. When those women divest, they write off black men as a whole, whether he's from the islands, from the continent, from Melanesia, or from the Americas or Western Europe. Done with black men. And it's not because of things that black men are doing wrong. It is because of the money that black men globally don't have due to white supremacy. They're pretty much saying, we don't care, we don't mind white supremacy, we just don't like the fact that you're poor because of it. That's really all it's about. That's the difference between them and us. I hope this helps. Thanks for listening. Black heart, black mind, blackout. Oh, and before I do leave, let me clarify this. They can choose. I don't tell them that they can't. But let's not lie to ourselves about why they're making the choices that they're making. It's the same as when they do want a black man, but they only want the idness. It's the same thing. They are choosing in spite of things that are wrong and actually choosing because of specifically what is wrong with the men they choose. They have the right to choose, and they have the right to be told about the choices they're making. Thanks for listening. Black heart, black mind, blackout, assalamu alaikum, black heterosexual, non-select male power, and black patriarchy until extinction or judgment day.